on the Melissa, we put 22,000 seedlings were transplanted this spring. 10,000 lavender plants were transplanted. 9,000 yarrow seedlings. And with all of that, we also did a project this spring with a grain drill and planted about 100,000 plants, and it's working out really good of yarrow. With the farm, it's really tough to fertilize in the spring or even in the fall. In the fall, if you fertilize, a lot of it gets washed away because we get so much rain and so much snow. Sometimes, you know, it's only a couple feet of snow here, but it melts, and then it snows again and it melts, and so we get a lot of water. So we come up with a plan to inject our fertilizer through our sprinkler system. Sometimes in the spring we can't get on the fields till end of April, maybe May. Can't even walk out there. So if I fertilize in May and I cut 1st of June or end of June or 1st of July, the fertilizer doesn't have a chance to work. So we come up with a plan and we put it in our water system, so that helps us be more productive. With that being done, soil testing, help from Tanio Technologies on some soil samples, plant samples, all sorts of stuff that we do here on a weekly basis, helping the farm grow. We've doubled our production this year that we did last year. Nice. Without the group that I have here on the farm, that wouldn't be possible. So kudos to them. On the farm, we've got 200 acres total acreage on the farm. 85 of it is in Melissa, 35 of it is in yarrow, and about 30 acres is in lavender. And we're going to keep improving on that, keep gaining on that to where we can get to use all of our acreage. The biggest problem is the water source that we have. Last year we were out of water a month before we harvested, so we need to add, you know, we got to have that water there. If we have a dry year, it just suffers. So that's one of the struggles that we have. It's not like that every year. This year was great. We had lots of water and everything went very well. As we walk down through here, I'm going to show you some equipment and how we harvest that. What I'd like to do is break you up into two groups. In the greenhouse, we take them out of the transplants again after 8 weeks, and then we go to the field. There may be some of you here that's come here to help us. I think it was last year we planted 280,000 plants in 4 days by hand. So the crew that I've got here is just spot on. Other farms have borrowed them for a week and they want to keep them, and I'm like, no. Okay. So, but all of the stuff that we do here is all manual. We weed every row manually. We also plant all of our plants manually. That means we punch a hole in the ground with the machine, and we actually set the plant in the hole, cover it up, every plant. If you haven't planted 100,000 plants, it's a good experience. You ought to come try it. There's a lot of folks that's coming and they're like, we don't even have to ask you guys why the Melissa is so expensive, because we understand that. So, and then you wait 2 years sometimes, or 3 years before you can harvest it. So as fast as this is growing, and fast as you people are selling, you really put a lot of pressure on us. So anyway, if half of you will step into the greenhouse, the guys will help you out there. If you have some questions, if you'd save them till after, you might get most of them answered. Okay? And if the other half will follow me down here and we'll talk about the equipment. 1,000 Melissa plants and 75,000 lavender plants all ready to go in the greenhouse right now, and you'll see those when you go in there. And that's probably next week I'll put them all in the ground. Part of that is you have to have them in the ground early enough that they get roots established, or they freeze over the winter, and I've wasted all my time and effort. Same thing in the springtime. We can't plant till after Memorial Day, or they freeze and we lose them all. So there's a really short window up here to be able to grow these plants. So that makes it tough on the farms to be able to produce everything and not have a great growing season. But once we do get to harvesting, the Melissa is very, very like a fine woman. She doesn't like to get dirty. So that Melissa can't touch the ground. I didn't believe that. I'm a farm kid. I've put up hay. Well, it's true. It can't touch the ground. So what we've done is Gary designed some equipment that we pick it, cut it, and then it doesn't touch the ground, goes right in the truck. Then we haul it down to the distillery, dump it at the distillery. Once it gets to the distillery, let me back up 1 second. We do bricks tests about a month before we start doing bricks tests in the field. Once we get our bricks up to where we want to start cutting and the temperatures look good, then we start to cut, take it to the distillery and put it on the deck. We let it sit on the deck for about 3 hours, depending on whether or not it's hot, cloudy, just depend on Mother Nature, and then we flip it. And then we, after a short period of time, we check the bricks again, and we just keep checking it to make sure it's optimum. And then once we do that, then we load it up, put it in the cookers, and go ahead and cook. Every year we learn something new. Every year we try something a little different that may or may not work. And so it's a very great job as long as you're making good progress. If you're going backwards, it's not, not that great. This year, like I said, we doubled our production in both lavender and Melissa from last year. So hopefully we're headed in the right direction and can make this all be more happy for everybody. So, just checking the sugar levels in the plant. Do any of you have any questions?
How many total acres is the farm again?
200. Yep, that's houses, everything that's here.
What's the bricks?
Sugar, it's testing sugar levels.
What do you fertilize with?
Yeah,
we fertilize with 2 products. We get emulsion of fish from Seattle in totes, and I've actually put an injection system in our sprinkler system because I cannot get on the fields early enough to help with the fertilizer. So we put it in our sprinkler system, and then we can inject it through our sprinkler system, and it helps out and it cuts back on my man hours. And I also do the same thing with fish, or excuse me, chicken and fish, both. We use that. Then I have a company called Tanio Technology that's worked with Gary on this farm for years, ever since it started. And they work with us and help us out. And we do tissue samples, soil samples, and we have him, he comes through about every 2 months. And we always have great projects for him to do and us to do and different research and development things that we're trying. So, and he's a great source to help us out. So it's been very, very helpful for us. Yes?
Did they ever put the essential oil back on the plant?
I'm not sure my vegan friends would
No. I have not. Personally, I have not.
What happens when it gets to the young?
Well, it's chicken.
It gets dirty and it just doesn't produce the oil. It doesn't like to be roughed up. It doesn't like to be mishandled. It's a fine lady, and you just better take care of her, or it's not going to be very productive. So
That's what we use on our farm.
it's very, very time consuming to do it that way. You could go through here and cut this whole farm. If you were set up modern, you could probably cut this whole farm in 2 days. And it takes me about 8 days to cut the Melissa. So it's a time consuming thing, and some things you don't rush in nature. And that's one of them. And there's parts of the farm that's ready before the other part is not. So I'll cut and maybe wait a day or two and then go cut another piece somewhere else. So I have to be very hands-on in the field all the time. And that's spring, summer, winter, and fall. So with the rows that are here that you see, in between those rows, we've gone through this farm 3 times manually with hose. Weeding, and weeding. And it's a long day. We've tried a field as we go back through here. You'll see a field back here across from the tent that's not got any rows in it. And with Gary's direction, we planted it solid. We don't use any. Nothing. Yep, we don't use any.
Pest control.
Pest control, we don't use any. And actually, as you can tell, there's not many here. Last year I think there was a lot of grasshoppers here, and there's not much you can do about that. Year before that, there was millions of bees. Haven't seen any of that this year. It's been a really great year. It's been a wet year. It's been a cool year. We've had maybe 4 or 5 days in that we've just break 90, but we've been in the 70s and 80s most of the summer.
Is that just weather and climate that controls the bugs, or I mean, are y'all doing something like? I mean, I know you're not doing pesticides, but is it?
No, it's just Mother Nature.
Wow.
Yeah, and I talked to some guys up north, and they're infested with grasshoppers.
Wow.
So whether it's a migration or whether it's weather or whatever it is, it's not here this year. I hope it stays that way for a while. So that's one thing about here. It was 40 degrees this morning. So I think Sabrina, she lives up the road a ways, and it was 38 or 36 at her house. So it gets cool in the mornings here. A lot of humidity, a lot of moisture. This valley's really neat to be here. It's clear, full of fog. You wake up in the morning, you see the tops of the trees and full of fog, and it's a really special place to be. Some of the best sunsets I've ever seen. So, any more questions?